They say wonders never end. There's a new wonder that has happened, and gets you wondering what's going on. What's going on? How far do we intend to take this? Well, let me just spill the tea. So the thing is this: the Sahel countries, talking about Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, have decided to impose a 0.5% levy on imported goods from Nigeria and other ECOWAS countries. So the question is, how far do we intend to take this? We thought that after Niger asked for petrol supply from Nigeria, we're getting somewhere with peace talk, letting bygones be. But it seems no. That's not the case with the Sahel states. What's going to happen with this new development? Imported goods from Nigeria now will attract a levy of 0.5% except for humanitarian aid. That's the new development. To talk about this, we have Dr. David Masanga, who is an African affairs analyst, and it joins us virtually this morning. Dr. Masanga, good morning. Great to see you again.
Good morning and greetings from Amsterdam, Netherlands, where I am still trying to fix Africa. First of all, I want to thank you for fixing Africa. And I want to thank my friend that is the way. Some of you have said something. I was listening to you for 30 minutes. Thank you. We are not honest. That is the whole Africa on power and electricity. What? We are in trouble. My own country has a problem. But thank you very much for fixing Africa. Thank you.
All right, so I appreciate that you're trying to fix Africa. We are in that business together. You know that, right?
Yes. And I want to thank my friend in the again. Yeah, let him stay in that suit. So I am still in my African attire. So I'm ready to fix. Let's go.
We're in for an exciting time this morning. All right, so let's get into the issues. So the Sahel state, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso imposing a levy of 0.5% on imported goods from Nigeria and other ECOWAS countries. And they say they seek this to fund a new three-state union after leaving ECOWAS. Is this taking the, let me borrow the word, beef? Is this taking the disputes between the Sahel state and ECOWAS too far?
First of all, thank you for inviting me this morning. I have been in all the three states. I have traveled in Burkina Faso. The younger gentleman in Burkina Faso is a great friend of mine. I've traveled in Niger. I've gone to Mali. They are friends of mine. I find something very, very strange happening in that region. One, we create problems ourselves as Africans. African Union, ECOWAS, East African Community, SADC. We create problems of our own. We have an obnoxious AU charter that has created us the monster we are going to have very soon in Africa. That once there is no democracy, democratic or a coup or this, you throw that sun out. While in Europe, they are busy cuddling that sun. That is one of the points that one of your panelists in your own presentation a few minutes were doing. As we fight, they are taking our meat. They are eating our meat. Have you seen now? They have divided you people there now. And that is why you see Sahel region organization is, hello, we are the same. We are same Africans. We have the same color. But when you bring your here, you have to pay levy. Where did the rain start beating us? But even you go there, there's something touched me. Nigeria has 241 falls. Did you know, people? Research yourselves. 241 waterfalls. But you import generators. You pollute. You are polluting. You are talking about power, power, power. There is more power to be produced in that country that everybody in Nigeria will have light in the smallest of Abia, smallest state of the town of Onitsha, Enugu, Madiguri. Everybody have light, but we are not people. Now these young men across the border are saying, hello, we don't want to operate the way we are. You people operate, but before you bring in your goods here, give us some levy. Let's start from there, my dear.
Dr. Masanga, sorry, I am still wearing my suit. One day I will throw it away so that I can dress African. But the challenge I have now is that to even find the African fabric is a big challenge and a problem because we have subletted that sector to China and Bangladesh. Now, coming to the challenge that we face as Africans, we look at what happened in Berlin in 1884, 1885. Look at Nigeria, for example. Cousins are separated by a single line between Niger and Nigeria in the northern part. And if you come to the southern part here, between Badagry and Cotonou, people speaking the same language, same dialect, separated by colonial line. And this is greatly affecting the unity of Africa. What do you think we can do to actually remedy that unfortunate incident that happened in Berlin?
You are right. We must have a renaissance. If we don't have a renaissance, let's go to Atlantic Ocean and bury ourselves, die first. Because we have not looked at China, my brother. 40 years ago, China was the poorest country on planet Earth. With one rice scheme in my country, they were producing rice and enjoying some of half with us. Today, China has come back. 40 years past. It did what we call, you remember the five, after Mao Zedong's death, the big five, the disagreements. China went back to the drawing table. Africa needs to go back to the drawing table. We have a lot of symptoms of neocolonial traits that are creating us the disunity that we have. We speak the same things, we do the same things the way the French want us to do, the way the English want us to do. Isn't it time to do a renaissance? Why then did Europe have a renaissance? Where I am here in Amsterdam, they had a renaissance. They have even pushed the ocean very far. A few meters away from here, if you drive about 50 kilometers, the ocean has been pushed. That is when they started developing. One brother in the studio said, if you don't have a power, you can't produce. You can't be economically, however strong you are. A population of 250 million people, 1.4 billion Africans are still looking for power. Generators, buying generators. If a plane falls in Indian Ocean or Atlantic, you'll find how many generators will come out of that plane. We are polluting our continent instead of looking for ways, governments looking for ways. So we need a renaissance.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga. And in fact, let me take it up from where you stopped. 1.4 billion people. The other day in the Economic Forum, where we have two Nigerians, prominent Nigerians. One is the current president of the African Development Bank and the prominent businessman, Tony Elumelu, who were discussing issues in United Arab Emirates about economic development in Africa. And Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, who has the details and the number in the palm of his hand, said that if Africans can trade among themselves, 1.4 billion people carrying out economic activities across borders and make Africa a borderless state for the purpose of facilitating trade among each member states, our economy will grow 10 times bigger than the way it currently is now. And if you look at the European Union, there is no borders. There are trains that can move from one country in Europe to the next, and it facilitates economic development amongst states, and they are not buying themselves out from each other. Why do you think the Sahel state is going this direction? Could it be a counsel or an advice coming from Western allies who want to actually cut them off so that there will be division within Africa and where they can explore to make sure that we do not come to that place? Are you there, Dr. Masanga? Okay. I think we lost Dr. Masanga for a moment. You know, recently, the European Union sent a delegation to Nigeria, and they were talking about the gas pipeline from Nigeria, and I remember making
the Trans-Saharan gas
pipeline. I remember making a case, trying to go back into history to figure out when it started, and it's about 1970. And I was saying on this table that, look, they've started planning for, additional, for supplementary gas where else they can go rely for gas supply for the whole of Europe by contacting Nigeria, because they know the amount and the tons of gas deposit we have as a country. And they've been making that plan for years. And of course, the relevant ministry and the minister in that conversation was, making allusion to the Saharan gas pipeline and how that will be beneficial to them. And we are looking at, okay, how is it going to benefit us? It's going to move from Nigeria to one other country, then to Algeria. If they are thinking that way, how come the African Union are not calling the heads of state together, or the heads of state, the leadership that we have in African Union? Do we have a collective development plan for Africa? Do we have a development plan whereby Africa, to an extent, develop all together at once, where we promote trade within ourselves? Of course, there will be some form of trade, and we know of the African Continental Free Trade Area where all African countries can come and participate. However, do we have a strategic plan that will show us the direction so that we do not only serve as the ground for exploit, but for us to have a mutual development between our European partners and for ourselves only? For me, when I look at these Sahel states, I don't think this is the right direction for them to go, because even though they are the Sahel states and they are no longer with the Economic Community of West African States, that specific plan, if the Economic Community of West African State members would be included in that plan of being tariffed, no matter how small it is, 0.5%, no matter how small it is. What about other African countries that are not in the bloc of ECOWAS? Or how are we carrying out the issue of tariff with other countries, most especially from the West? How are we imposing this tariff? Or is it this just to spite, it's as if the fight is with Africans? Are we responsible for underdeveloping ourselves? And this is a critical question that we must put across to ourselves.
Okay, so you may be right in the thinking that perhaps there's some foreign influence in this. However, I think that the problem predates what's happening now, and that is disunity in Africa. So it's very easy for us to quarrel among ourselves and take it to the extreme. First, when the coup happened in Niger, and then ECOWAS waded in, but not in the way that pleased Niger. We saw how the three states that were already aggrieved with the operations of ECOWAS pulled out. Now, one would have thought that now you have your military government and everybody has left you alone. Time has passed, we would have gotten over that. And then came the talk about, restricting Nigerians from having access to travel to Niger, visa restrictions and all of that. It sounded funny, but Nigeria laughed about it because who's to lose at the end of the day? We joked about the doc even talked about how when a child finds yam in the bush, the child says to the parents, let everybody start eating their meal until the child exhausts the yam. So it seemed like at that point, Niger had exhausted their tube of yam. that they found in the bush. So they needed petrol. Then they came to Nigeria. We want to buy petrol. You know, Nigeria, being the big brother Africa that it is, decided to sell or allocate some trucks to them so they could have some supply of electricity. Not long after, we're seeing that 0.5% levy is being imposed on goods from Nigeria. The thing is, who are those that will bear the brunt of it? Who would pay the 0.5% levy at the end of the day? So if you're imposing a tariff of 0.5% on goods to sell, it is those who are using the goods at the end of the day that will bear the brunt. So you are only punishing your citizens. But the question is how critical, how much of a necessity are goods from Nigeria to Niger? So let's say petrol, for instance, that you are even buying as high as 8,000 naira per liter as at the last time we checked. You impose a levy of 0.5% on it. You are making it more expensive for your citizens. So it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're spiting, you're cutting off your nose just to spite your face. That looks like the situation. Who will suffer for it? Can these three states survive on their own? They say the money is to fund the Sahel bloc. How much of money do you need to fund the bloc? You are accusing ECOWAS of certain things, that ECOWAS did not bring development for the time that ECOWAS has been functioning. Are you not going the same route that you've accused ECOWAS of going? These are some of the questions that we should be asking these three states that think they can survive on their own. Yes, we'll have our guest, Dr. Masanga, back with us. The question that Priya was asking before the disconnection happened is, do you suspect some foreign influence in this? There's been talk about Africa trading with itself. There is the AFCTA agreement. How does this impact it at the end of the day? And what countries would suffer from a policy like this?
Thank you very much, my sister. Anytime I come to my friend here, the other younger gentleman, I will we lose the internet. But you have a point there. There is external influence that we must speak out against and call out. One of the biggest external influence
accused of being responsible for the network disruption. Okay, we do hope to continue our conversation with Dr. Masanga after that. But I'm tempted to bring in this analogy of an abuser, the way an abuser works. So part of the strategy of an abuser is to isolate the victim from their support system. And then it's quite easy for them to manipulate the victim and abuse the victim. If there is external influence, as we suspect that there might be, it means that Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso are not safe. It means that they are on their own orchestrating what will harm them in the end. So the support system and the rest of Africa is supposed to...
in short, I was going to ask Dr. Masanga, and I hope he's listening, what's actually the value of democracy? Except that it actually makes life so miserable for all of us. We have had military transformational leaders like Ataturk in Turkey, Abdel Nasser in Egypt, who came on the scene and actually built a society that could be embraced. Because the issue here, which of course nobody is addressing, is the issue of the French government keeping off Francophone in an appendage where they have to overly rely on Paris to survive. That even their internally generated revenue that are made from their country are to be deposited in the European Union Bank to be administered by EU, not their country. And so they are taking resources from these countries and they are using it to develop Africa. That's one part. Number two, the Sahel had been engulfed in terrible crisis, which is of course funded by the Al-Qaeda group and the rest of it, and is creating a whole lot of destabilization in those regions. Now, to what extent has ECOWAS, for example, be able to stop that trend? Because almost every ECOWAS country is struggling with their own security challenge. Now, one is asking, what's actually the value of ECOWAS? Secondly, we're also looking at the young man in Burkina Faso recently turned down a loan facility from World Bank and IMF. And rather, he feels that they should look inward. We're seeing them also trying to cut down on the cost of governance in their states, so that those who are the political gladiators are not paid excessively too high as against the real core people who are actually doing the job, which of course is the case in most of African states, where you find your civil servants are not paid well, and then you are expecting them to perform to the high heavens. Now, what I think is for us to actually sit down and look at these issues on their merits, not just because we have this understanding that the only way to govern a nation is except that nation is democratic, even when the democracy is not affecting the whole lot of people.
But this is beyond the system of government. Yes, the cause of the problem might have been the type of government that Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have. But this is beyond it. ECOWAS have stopped intervening in the type of government that they have. But to take it further by imposing levy within West Africa, imposing levy on goods from Nigeria and other African countries, that's more like expanding the rift between these three countries and the rest of West Africa.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
sorry. What this means is that you are saying that, look, we want to build our state and we want to be responsible for whatever thing we're doing. Take, for example, Dr. Masanga just mentioned China. That at a certain point, when China wanted to get on the trajectory of growth and development, the first thing they did was to lock themselves out of the world for 30 years. Their air borders were closed, their sea borders were closed, their land borders were closed. There were no interaction. They didn't allow anybody to come, they didn't allow anybody. Now, what these guys were doing actually was to ensure that, yes, let us bear the brunt of our growth. Okay. And then they had that conversation. And a new language even emerged for that period of 30 years. Boy seems to be saying, or this man seems to be saying here is to say, yes, we have been in ECOWAS. And he has not helped anybody. Okay. Now, can we really begin to look at our issue pragmatically so that we can deal with it as it affects us? Now, what it means is that we are going to pay more, but we ensure that what we are paying, we put it to use in this country. But now the question to ask is that when you look at these regimes, are they in any way principally different from the one that they took over from?
Okay, so now you have hit the nail, you have hit the hammer on the nail. And again, if you want to run your own type of government, does it necessarily mean that you need to have a kind of trusted relationship with your neighbors? Does it call for that? Is it necessary? Will there not be times when Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, particularly Niger, where it's just it's very, very difficult to actually put a separation line between Nigeria and Niger, given the ties that have existed between these two countries over the years? So does it necessarily mean that they have to sever ties with other African countries? Would they not have need for these other countries? And that's what I'm saying, that if there is external influence and they are being isolated, will it not boomerang on these three countries at some point in time?
Okay, so first of all, democracy, the military government or a military administration is never the best form of government for any country. And we cannot say that...
But hold the thought. Let's take it to Dr. Masanga. Dr. Masanga, are you there?
I'm here. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please, could you please respond to the question about possibility of external influence and what African countries will be most impacted by this policy?
I don't know why imperialists don't want me to buy African people. Someone is interfering with our lines. But the point here is this. There is one element on the African continent that has continued to put us divided up to today. 67 years after independence in Ghana, we are still looking at a country in Europe, in a metro called France. The three leaders, my gentleman, the younger man talking, I am a military man myself by background. I am not interested in taking power militarily. Thank you. But at the civilian presidency around the Sahel, how they have operated, the type of corruption that you have been crying over electricity this morning yourselves. You don't even know where the right, the title, the truth, the what. Corruption finds us. When Dangote wanted to make a refinery in your country, no sooner had he announced about than he was fought by Total Oil. Look, you have even given Total Oil the right to your football. I believe my friend in a suit there likes, like I am. I like football. I am a Liverpool supporter for 47 years now. Let me tell you frankly, look at this. We have Total Oil to sponsor our own football on African continent. France has to dismember us, and it will dismember us as long as we united, as long as we have got bad organizations like ECOWAS, like East African Community, like AU. It is empty, it's dead. It is a walking corpse, dead. When you go to AU, you find this division of France on the table. Now, ask me, didn't we engage these younger men across north of your border? We threatened them. You went and threatened this guy of... Look at yourself. If you're a Nigerian, be honest. You want $10,000 and you go to near, you want it. It will come in 5 minutes in a bank. Our biggest population in Africa, a country with 250 million people. You want $10,000 in Lagos. I better, do you know what? It's better for this kingdom than receiving that money in 10 minutes in Lagos or Abuja or Onita. Wait for weeks. That is where the problem is. So the younger men there, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, they have worked, they are working. They have put their money right there. And they are going to levy you even more. You know, the people inside there, very few people can be disgruntled. What is anyway? What is democracy? Democracy in the UK came after 1,000. How many people were killed in the United Kingdom before democracy? It's 1,000 years. You are talking of 67 years. You are harassing people of a system which is not yours. Why don't we go to the China system? China closed the borders. Say don't. They closed. 40 years passed. 10 years ago, they started busting, open the borders. They had already made them worth it. For us, I am not an advocate of military coups because I don't like your man Osamhanze who overthrew governments there and he runs around to say he's doing a peace process in Africa. What process? When you overthrow a government, it at home. You know, you did it, you don't give a good example. Can I speak my mind? I'm in that category of theirs. They're my age. We must help you. We must speak for you. There are some people in Africa who are making very bad. You go run to the French. I also, we are done. We are done. So, men there in the Sahel, keep it going. Yes. And we have not persuaded them. You see that? We are Nigeria threatened Niger. Niger said, bring it on. Now they went. We talking to them, my fellow people in the studio. It is very perfect. Instead of talking to these younger men who have picked up guns and overthrown the government, to France to fly to find, your president was busy in France trying to find how Macron is a small young man. What a big guy going to need a younger man of 39, is it 41 or what? He's not even my firstborn. You know, that you kneel before him to ask for what? What is our problem? What are we asking for? This military are doing better than the civilian government. Look at Conde. Conde was still until he was found with his trousers open. You know, look at the other one. In all of them, Mali, look at the other man. They want to extend the constitution in order to stay in power. Look at Zimbabwe. The guy in his wants to even extend the constitution to go to 23rd. What's wrong with Africa? What's wrong in Africa? External pressure from the French. The French should leave us alone. At least he left us with English. We are speaking very good English. Today we have PhDs, hold this doctorate, that. They have never come back to assimilate. The French still continue with the policy of assimilation. The West African states, the Sahara region, go deeper into Boko Haram. Where are the offices of Boko Haram? You find them in Qatar. Who deals with Qatar? You know. Now tell me, wherever you see oil, you see Qatar. Aha. They come to Africa to create a problem. Look at Libya, Sahara region again. Libya is into two. Tell me, who is dividing Libya? Under who? Qatar. Let's go. Now you are telling
this division ongoing now. What do you think this Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali story portends for the rest of Africa? Does it set precedents for further division?
Yes. It is. You asked who sets the precedent? Let me tell you, what is in Burkina Faso? I don't know why the internet is not giving us good time. What is in Burkina sets precedents? Everybody in Africa is saying, go to Faso, go to Burkina Faso and see what is going on there. I have been there. The type of development since this man took over power, he has bought ambulances, 4x4 wheel drive, 100 of them. You can drive to any small remote area and treat a do some minor surgery. Some of our countries buy big, some are even buying planes. Yes, leaders in our countries are buying, instead of buying medical equipment, instead of buying electricity, like what you have said, there are 241 waterfalls in Nigeria. You have nothing but only pollution, which you carry from Europe. A generator everywhere. When you fly over Nigeria at night, it's to be in hell. Yes, because you don't see anybody. You only see Lagos, then Abuja, then another one. But we have a lot of water, can produce eco-free systems. We have electricity without issue. Now, my sister, it is setting a very good example. And I don't blame people, might not be here 30 years to come. But the situation is, I tell you, the situation is going to change. What is wrong? Trump is putting levy on Mexico. Trump is levy on Canada. If Nigeria wants, it can be. But these three countries have gone. They have gone. Until we talk to them, they have gone. In fact, they have even made a passport. Why are you crying, lamenting? Why are you writing books of lamentation? ECOWAS cannot ECOWAS itself. It can't. It relies on France. When are you giving us for military support in Gambia? Senegal was paid money to remove Yaya, that dictator there who was cutting people's hands. I also to remove him because I did not like him. You know, I went there and I put myself in Banjul, and we got rid of him. He's a very bad man. But Senegal was paid. Now, if you are having your own money, how will you talk of unity? Every time we unite, France comes with money. The last thing before the internet disrupts me again, we were at the AU, my father with the suit and the younger man and my hostess, the lady. But let me tell you, it was drama at the AU. We arrived in the AU, two candidates from the French former arrived on the scene. The drama started. To see that we Africans are even, you know what, we are poisoned. Is it curse? Can I tell it a curse? People started voting those lines.
Okay, Dr. Masanga. Now, you've been to the three Sahel countries and you've seen some positive development that, of course, quite different from what has been happening with the political actors in those countries. And they seem to be setting the right precedent right now because of reducing cost of governance, which has been a very huge problem in Africa. What do you think is the room left for ECOWAS and indeed AU to reintegrate these three countries so that we can actually sit down around the table and talk about the real issue without necessarily have to blow the trumpet of the West in terms of overrating the value of democracy in Africa?
Yes, form the charter. My brother, this time, this is the debate I want. Form the charter, the AU charter. You see, we made the charter in 1963. It says, once someone picks up guns to overthrow, is the regime in Iraq, wasn't it overthrown and installed? Afghanistan. What happened? Went there, threw out people, installed. Another place, Iraq, installed. Another one now, you see, Syria. Tells us not to deal with these things. They deal with the man in Syria. You overthrew that and placed a terrorist that you have been looking for. He's now the president of Syria. Now they come to Africa to say, must observe standards. Military should not be allowed. Look, the power. There is no government in the Pentagon, in the US without the Pentagon. I'm telling you, I've studied the subject. Challenge me, even when I'm going to the grave. There's no government in the US without the Pentagon. There's no government in China without the Red Army. There's no government in Russia without the army. Now they come to Africa. There is no government institution. The monarch in the UK finds itself the strength in the army, the nuclear weapons, the what. All governments form themselves on the basis of the military. If you have the military capability, you are worth respected. So you find that the hybrid system of silent democracy, hybrid military here and civilian here, governments have lasted long. For us in Africa, they tell us, no. In the Charter of African Union, 1963. We have put even a clause that as soon as you over a government, you are put out to die on your own. We have not read the prodigal son story.
Cannot continue with the conversation until the network connectivity is resolved. In the meantime, we continue the conversation right now in the studio. Now, from all that Dr. Masanga has said, complaining about the way Africa is being run by its leaders, neglecting security and looking at what the other countries have been able to achieve when China locked themselves in what they did, and even with US. Now, if we were to go forward, looking at this type of protectionism that is being employed by the Sahel states, is there a lesson to learn there by Nigeria and other African countries? It may not be going the route of having a coup, but what can all the rest of Africa learn from these three states?
Okay, so let me come in here. I think what we are missing here is this. There is no under any circumstance which should promote military government or
We're not
military.
talking about promoting.
I know. I'm not
referring
referring to. I'm not.
Now.
Yes, I know, because it from all aspects, what we are seeing is that this is including the civilians in these three states. They were hailing them when they emerged to become. It should not be allowed to continue. And what I mean by it should not be allowed to continue means that it is incumbent on the civilian administrations and the democracies we have in these governments, in countries that are still practicing democracy, to make sure that they govern in such a way that the dividends of democracy, the dividend of economics, the purchasing power of the people at the ebb of society, and development should trickle down to the people at the grassroots, at the ebb of society. It is very, very worrisome when security, which is the primary responsibility of government, is out of control, because these are still the military authorities that are in power, that are subject to the control and the instruction of the civilian government to go handle issues of terrorism. It is incumbent on the civilian government to make sure that we economically empower the people at the ebb of society. Now, this is it. If we do not put a stop to this, other African countries, we will be going back to the 1960s and the 1950s and the 1970s, where countries, even in Africa, took over the reins of power using the barrel of the gun. And Nigeria, we are standing on a on the part where other African countries are looking at us. Two things. This Sahel state, they are isolating themselves from other African countries with regards to what they are trying to do to build the economic power of these three states. They are isolating themselves economically. They are isolating development. They are shutting out other countries that, look, don't bring your goods here because we are going to tax you for it. Fine, even if you are going to tax us, let it be reasonable. However, you are the military government. You have come to stay at this moment, pending when democracies will be entrenched back in the society. So whilst you are doing that, I think it is incumbent on them to equally put out policies that will give them a way as people who are being friendly, as a nation that is being friendly and receptive to development, that is receptive not only to development, but is also receptive to creative and proactive means of developing their society. And if they do not do that, and they begin to make laws or policies that tend towards protectionism and isolating them, it's not going to be good for them, because I think the reason why they are doing that is because they are having some form of foreign influence that is telling them to make sure that they make decisions in line with this. But they should also consider that if they move that way, it's not going to augur well for their economies.
All right, Dr. Masanga, Thank you for joining again. Now, as we go forward, what should be the consciousness of the rest of Africa? What message do you have for the Sahel states? Now they're locking themselves out, and do you see them being able to sustain locking themselves out from the rest of Africa, just like China did? Do they have what it takes to continue on that route?
I want to ask my brother, younger brother there, to travel to Burkina Faso and ask for $10,000 only. He will get it in 5 minutes. And I want to ask him to come back to Kaduna or Maiduguri or Abuja and ask for $10,000 to go medical treatment abroad. My brother, what is democracy now? The younger guys, I don't support militarism. Man, I know how a gun pains us. Brother, listen to me. A gun pains. And I know how I fought a war in 1978 against to remove him. But let me tell you one thing. The guys in Burkina, Mali, and Niger are doing things that civilian governments don't do. Allah, they don't do it. So be honest. I am not an NGO to come here to praise civilian governments that don't perform. No. ECOWAS has been there. There is a Sahel region. I've taken over the whole of the Sahel region. ECOWAS sings, ECOWAS, bring money. These boys are confronting the terrorists. And who brings those? France. Yes, when it doesn't like you, it goes to install a man who will like their policy so that they take your uranium. Hello? These boys have stopped uranium going out. They sell it. They buy and build it. Governors have got 20 gasolers. You drive 20 cars. Your own state governor has 20 gasolers. They're high-range cars, which it can build hospitals. Now you are telling me we need to do. What are you? You want medicine. There is nothing in a dispensary in Abuja. You want to fly. Governor flies to San Francisco. Do you even have a visa to go to Francisco? Watch out. You don't. The governor has flown his children. He's being treated that you are in a democratic. These guys across north are setting a very good example. Do you know they are more popular some of the civilian presidents you have around there? I don't want it to be to my friend.
If you said these guys are setting a very good example, that example will also trickle down to taking over power. Whilst you do not support military administration, I think that's the part that we need to echo. These guys are in the top echelon of the military government before they took over the reins of power. What they noticed and observed that the civilian government was not doing, it is also in their right standing to prefer and give a word of advice to the civilian government and probably to let them know that, look, you are impoverishing our country, you are dragging us down economically by making sure you are exporting the uranium out of this country. Now, we do not want you to continue in this step. We are in the military and we have intelligence. We know what exactly it's going to trickle down, even at the head of society, even at the United States, rather, when you look at them, their economic power translates, their military power translates to their economic power. So the military administrations, before taking over power, should have given proper advice to the civilian governments before they took over power. And that was not done. Don't you think that would have been the right perspective to things?
On that one, now we are talking like intellectuals. First, that's very good. Let's engage them. Don't threaten them. The mistake that ECOWAS, which President Tinubu must be answerable, because he's the chairman of ECOWAS. I've been avoiding to mention this. I don't want television to be closed down. President Tinubu made a mistake the first time to threaten Niger, and they said he was the chairman of ECOWAS. He should have not threatened men. He should have called them to engage. What is killing Africa, my dear brother? You are right. We must engage these people instead of isolation. You remember Ronald Reagan, policy of engagement, the Contra affair. Do you remember Contra affair in Panama? The engagement. Let's re-engage. We have lost that African Union of re-engagement, redemption. Talk to these younger men. Call them that, please, we just come back, go back to the barracks, do the security of your country, but allow the civilians to do their voting, their election. Don't threaten them. A man who has a gun, threaten him. President Tinubu failed us there. He's the chairperson of ECOWAS. The first thing he did was to fly to France to ask for what to do. His own country, your own country has problems, big ones, big. And you are the people who should make Africa work. When we look at you, as Ugandan, I feel proud, but you have failed us in Nigeria. You have failed us.
Now the situation has gotten to the point where levy is now imposed. First, it was restricting Nigeria access to Niger via visa restrictions, and now it is the Sahel states as a bloc now imposing sanction, we'll call it sanction, imposing levy on Nigeria, imported goods from Nigeria and other West African countries. What do you think will be next? Is that a way to settle this dispute, bridge this gap that now exists and is becoming more wide by the day between the Sahel states and the rest of ECOWAS? Is there a chance for peace between ECOWAS and the Sahel states?
I like what President Mahama is doing. He's going there to talk to them. He's talking to them to talk them back. They are part of us. They are our sons. My sister, they are our sons. Let's talk to them. Let's not threaten them. Let's not give them ultimatums based on the French money. No way. No way. No way. You are good for the problem there. These guys, if we allow them to go the way they are going, and I am glad that the AU is to reform. Let me ask one question and I leave it to the doctor in a tie, my good friend tie fashion. We have Morocco. Morocco has occupied the Sahara. Morocco has occupied the territory. And we have allowed Morocco to sit on our table. Now you go to threaten, what is the difference between Morocco, which has occupied our territory, and we have refugees in Abuja, in Uganda, in South Africa, in Kenya, Nairobi, everywhere in Algeria. Sahawaris have been chased out of their territory. And we African Union, we have brought these guys, Morocco. They even tell us they are better be in Europe than in Africa. Why have we brought them here? They take the same. Now Morocco puts more even sanctions on Africans. Do you know that you cannot, it is better to go to Algeria than going to, if you're a black man from the south of Sahara, please be careful. Because going there, you are looking, the people there beat us, they kill us, they think we're animals. We are not supposed to be in Morocco. So then you bring such a country in African Union. Tell me, Dr. Matsan, what do I do? We now condemn the younger man who has built a gold refinery that can refine African gold. You always carry refinery, your gold, and take it to Dubai, to develop Dubai. But this man has said, here in Burkina Faso, the best, he used his money. Remember, there's room for negotiation. There's room for forgiveness. There's room. That's why the Bible, if you're a Christian, the prodigal son was not thrown away. these are our prodigal sons. Might have picked up arms because they saw a situation was unmanageable. Let's talk to them. Some who are their friends, we are willing to help Tinubu to talk to them if he doesn't know how to talk. To tell them, please talk. Like Mahama is hearing us. Another dictator south, one there called Paul Biya. You are near that man who is slaughtering English-speaking people. Now, tell me, how do we handle this situation as Africans? How many refugees are you having in Nigeria coming from Southern? How many? Tell me, you people. And you think, now, Paul Biya, when he's sick, flown to Switzerland. Why don't you put sanctions on such a man? Look at that. And this man telling me democracy. Where, boss? The man in the truth here, that democracy. What? Paul Biya, is he giving people democracy? Is he? It's democracy in Cameroon. Are you not near there receiving refugees? So many refugees from
fixing Africa, and we do hope that it is not too late for Africa to get it right, regardless of the rift that currently exists between the Sahel states and ECOWAS. We do hope that they're able to find the leaders, the chairman of ECOWAS and the leaders of the Sahel states, or each of the Sahel states are able to come to a round table and come to and agree on a common ground so that Africa can move forward. Thank you so much for being passionate about bringing change in Africa.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Always keep on inviting me, and my two brothers, let's have a conversation. Today I have a conversation in Amsterdam. I am hammering France. Bring it on. I'm telling France to get out of Africa. We are fed up of this country taking our minerals, and yet the poorest people in Europe. No, enough is enough. Let's do it. Let's do it together. I am happy. I will always thank you
very much.
All right, we've been talking with Dr. David Masanga, an African affairs analyst who joined in from Amsterdam as we looked at the current issue between the Sahel state and ECOWAS with a 0.5% levy imposed by the Sahel state on goods imported from Nigeria and other ECOWAS countries.